In this lesson, you'll learn the core principles of effective Power BI report design, including common mistakes, how to design for your audience, and why most dashboards fail to get used. We'll cover key concepts like simplicity, clarity, performance, and how to structure reports that actually drive decisions. Let's dive in. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ali Nurani. I will be your trainer for the day. It's a report design course. So, agenda for today. So, we are going to start with some philosophy, some best practices, overview, design principles, what to do and what not to do. Some of the common mistakes that people make when they think about report design, when they are building a dashboard and a report. And although, you know, a lot of this is subjective, for example, a report that might work in one organization might not actually work in another organization. But at the same time, there are some good principles to understand, and then you can pick and choose what guidelines and what principles work in your particular circumstances. So you use them, and then you can discard the ones that might not work for you. Once we have done it, we are going to explore a completed report, and we are going to see how these principles, the one that we have studied, are implemented within the report. So you can see the final product. Once we see the final product, we are going to start to understand what are all the components and functions and options within Power BI that we have used to build the report. What are the puzzle pieces behind the report? Once we understand it, we start to put things together so we can arrive at the final product ourselves. So you see the vision, you see the pieces, and we start to put things together to complete the report. Um, Once we've done it, I'm going to share some resources for inspiration. One of the best ways to improve your acumen, design acumen, is to explore some of the reports which already exist on the internet. I'm going to share some resources so you can study them, and then once you understand what are the puzzle pieces behind the reports, you can, in your mind, you will be able to break it down, what this person has done in the report. So if you can arrive at a stage where you see a good looking report, and in your mind you can say, okay, that's a bookmark and that's a drill through and that's you can understand what options they have used within Power BI. So you can put things back together again. So that's the agenda. What we will not cover. Expectation is you already have basic understanding of report development. Now all of you have come through essentials. You will already have the basic understanding of report development. You would understand some basic navigation across Power BI. And this course will not cover data modeling in DAX. And I also understand majority of you have not done advanced, which is fine. So if these are the topics that you are interested in, then probably your advanced and DAX course will help you out. These are a lot more in-depth 2-day courses. So we are not going to cover them, but we are going to use a little bit of DAX to improve the user experience of the report. That will be the intention, some simple functions. Okay, now report design um, is more art than science. I have been using Power BI for a very, very long time, 7 years. And this report design part, I only started to appreciate probably in last 2 years. This is the last course that I have created myself. I was very technical, and I understand majority of you come from a technical background. And uh, and this is one area where we either do not appreciate enough or we just struggle. Generally, we create a report and people don't seem to use it. So I'm going to discuss some of the reasons why it happens, because we tend to convey too much information in most instances. We try to convey too much information and we think they will be able to digest it, but that does not happen. Most of the time, your simple report wins, where you can reduce the number of visuals, where you can reduce the number of lines. It's all about reduction. It's all about reduction when it comes to the report design. So I'm going to share some of the mistakes that I have made. This has been a learned skill for me. For some people, the report design, the creativity, the beauty side comes naturally. I'm not one of those people, to be honest. My wife is. So it has been a learned skill. I still struggle, and I have to like use different side of my brain, different side of my brain to kind of force some of it. So again, it's subjective. There are some rules that you can use, and based on the industry you work in, based on what kind of people are you surrounded with, are they very tech savvy or are they not? You can pick and choose those rules. So You know, there are a few key learnings that I have specifically when it comes to report design. In any organization, one of the common mistake that people make, and these are the people who are very technically sound. One common mistake they make is they create a report that looks beautiful, but it's not very useful, right? A report can look really, really pretty, but at the same time, a report cannot be very useful. How do you know a report is useful? A report is useful if it offers an insight and a decision can be made. If a report looks beautiful, but you cannot make a decision, it's not offering a sharp and quick insight, and it's easy to read, that report is not very useful. In any organization, especially where Power BI is being used from 2 years and 3 years, you will see so many reports, right? You will see so many reports, but you can actually check the backend analytics. Out of 100 reports, only two reports is actually getting used. I'm not sure if you know, but you can actually see the analytics from the back end of the report. One of the ways that you know a report is useful is you don't have to do a lot of change management. Once a report is there in the hands, it gets adopted very quickly. You don't have to push it because people see it, they understand what the data is being communicated, they understand it, it's becoming useful, it saves their time, they can make a decision, and you don't have to do a lot of training and force management, like change management is required, but it's a lot less. So these are the four things, that um, and one of the things that I have learned is your report. Um, you know, the job of your report is to inform and not to impress. Once your report, once you approach your report in a way that I'm informing people in the best possible way, they get impressed as a byproduct. And how do you inform people effectively? There are four things that I look at, and probably they are important in this order. Step number one is we have to make sure data is accurate. Now it's very cliche, but as you start to use more and more calculations and more DAX, you will realize people don't do enough due diligence to make sure things are accurate. Only after 6 months and 3 months, they realize, something is not making sense. And when they start to look at it, they understand, yeah, the data was not correct. So making sure things are accurate, this is the most important key. How do you make sure data is accurate? Is the right data selected? Is the right data preparation techniques applied on it? Are the right assumptions built into the logic? If I have built the report, has anyone else done the quality check on it? Because when we build something, we tend to have a blind spot because we are assuming something and we know that's like true. But if someone else checks it, they can find some of the blind spots we have. So data preparation, selection of the data, right calculations, right assumptions, quality check, someone else does it for us. Accuracy is the most important one, like number one. Number two, utility. Is the report useful? How do you know it's useful? Can a decision can be made from the report very quickly? If a report does not facilitate decision making by offering sharp insights, it's not a very useful report, even if it looks very pretty. And how do you know? One of the ways that I know is, can you articulate why the report exists? What is the purpose of the report? And when you can define a purpose of the report, you can put every single visual within the report which serves the purpose. If you will not have a clarity of the purpose of the report, you are going to create a report for everyone, and then it becomes less useful for anyone. So one of the common mistakes that we make is we try to create one single report that offers insight to an executive, like a CEO, all the way down to an officer. So that's also one of the common mistakes. So you have to define what is the audience, purpose, what insights will it offer, who is the audience and who is not the audience. Because once you define who is not the audience, then you say, okay, this report is not for these group of people, right? What decisions, utility, why, what is this overarching purpose of the report, what is this why of the report, and then every single visual within that report should answer that why. Three, right? Simple. It's not about having a lot of visuals in the report, it's about having few meaningful visuals structured in a logical way. It's not about having too many colors. It's about having a consistent color theme. It's not about um, it's not about using a complex visual. It's about using a simple bar chart. Uh, it's about using simple terminology, simple vocabulary, consistency. So basically, less is more. What you will realize is it's very easy to create a complex report. It's very difficult to create a simple report. The more you want to make something simple, the more hard you have to think. How do you make this simple and offer the same insights? So simplicity is the key. One of the philosophy that you can borrow is your report is like a joke. If you have to explain it, it's not that good, right? Of course, it's a philosophy. You might have to do some training, but as a rule, when someone looks at the report, it's so self-explanatory that they can understand it without the training. The terminology that you use, the title of the report that you use, how you create like a logical sequence to it. So simplicity, less is more, right? And this is a and I believe like this is the classic point where highly technical people struggle. They just want to offer more insights, more insights. More is not better, less is more. And step number four is fast. Now we have a very, very short attention span. We are going to learn some functions and options which will help you make your report look better. But when something starts to look better, it becomes heavy too. A lot of the options, your speed and your speed and um, your beauty will actually pull in opposite direction. You will realize we will put some bookmarks and some buttons. So make sure we do not compromise how quick a report loads for the sake of making it pretty. So speed and of the report will trump beauty of the report in the long run. So fast is very important. So basically, once you make sure that you take care of these four steps, I have not even covered how do you make things beautiful. It will inform users effectively. Once a user is informed effectively, that is a really, really good report. Once you have done these four steps, it's a phenomenal report anyways. Then you can just do last few things that we are going to cover in this course, which is making sure you have the right theme and color contrast and logo and bookmarks, and that will be really the last 5% effort. You should not start from here. You should start from here. Okay. So okay, with that said, these are some of the practices, some good principles, report design principles that we can use. Know your audience, uh, so important. In some organizations, they are not very data literate. They are really just starting out on the journey. For them, you have to be a lot more concerned about you don't offer, you don't make things complex for them. So these are the few things that you can consider in terms of your audience. How senior are they? Are you sharing it with a C-level exec, or are you sharing it with or officers, right? Because both of them will need different kind of information. C-level executives want more of a bird eye view and they want to understand the patterns. And officers might want to understand a day-to-day activity. How many people are you going to share this report with? If you're going to share it with 5 people, you can train them effectively, right? You can train them effectively, you can train them quickly. So you can include some complex functionalities within the report. But if this gets shared with 200 people in the organization, then you have to really see who are the least qualified, or the people who are least technology literate, let's say. Because if you share it with a big audience, then that becomes a major factor. Then you should also look at what kind of industry do you work in? Are you working in toys store versus insurance, right? So this also determines how adventurous you can be in terms of your use of colors and use of visuals and whatnot. So your industry, number of people that you're going to share it with, and what is their um, tech savviness, right? Basically, if you create two extremes just to make a point, so if you are sharing it with 5 people, very tech savvy, right, versus 200 people, not very tech savvy, your report will look very, very different. Because 5 people very tech savvy, you can include a lot of slices, complex functionalities, and you can So they can so the same report can answer a lot of questions. But if you're sharing with 200 people, not very tech savvy, then you have to be at peace that you cannot answer so many questions because you're trading off simplicity of the report, and you cannot answer all the questions basically. So knowing your audience is probably the most important key. So we have to understand who is this report for. Be clear on the purpose of the report. Uh, Again, this comes down to utility. If you are clear, then you know what insights you have to offer in the report, and by offering those insights, what decisions will you allow your audience to make? So be clear on the purpose, consistency. Like this is a big one. Human brain likes alignment and symmetry and consistency. And this is like simple things like consistency in the font style, consistency in the font size, consistency in the space between the visual. Now, it's not very technical, it's very easy to do, but this takes a lot of time just to make sure things are consistent and aligned and symmetric in a report. Once you have it, human brain just likes it. The report has a nicer feel to it. Once your report is just all over the place, you just make it consistent. Just by that act alone, it starts to look nice. Keep it simple. I think I've expanded on this point a lot. Um, the more simpler you can keep your report, the better that is. It's about less and not more. If you can convert 3 pages of a report in a single page, that's how you have to think. How can I reduce the number of pages? How can I reduce the number of visuals and at the same time offer the same insight? Highlight important points. You can only have an opportunity to highlight important points once your report is simple. If your report is too crowded and too noisy and you have too many stuff, you lose this opportunity to highlight that this is where I want you to pay attention. Okay, highlight important points, and then top left to bottom right and high level to detailed. I will expand on this point a little bit more. And this is how we read in most cultures. We start from top left, we go right, and then we go down, and then we go right. That's how we read a book. That's how we also read a story, right? And when we have to tell a story within a report, you can use the same framework. You start from here because that's how people tend to read things. They start from here, they go right. So you put the most important information here. And then as someone moves down, you break down that information into smaller components. So see this screen is not too good, but you start from total revenue. And as they move down, you break down total revenue by month, you break it down by product type, you break it down by retailer, and then you break it down by country. They start from high level aggregated information, and as they move down, this information is being broken down left to right and high level to detailed. Intelligent use of real estate. We don't have a lot of space, so how can we use some of the functions to make intelligent use of real estate? This will also be a key. How do we do it? And then just take care of the final details, which is consistency, alignment, using the same vocabulary, simple things. You cannot say on one report page you say revenue and then on the other page you say sales. Just have consistency of the language, the font size, the text, the colors, the visuals that you use, the color coding. So having the consistency is such an important key. And we are going to discuss some of the options that allows you to do it quickly. Okay, so I'll stop here because now I'm going to share a link and we will explore a completed report.